Imagine this for a second. What if I told you that the stress you're feeling right now, that tight chest, that racing mind, that constant pressure to keep going, is actually changing the shape of your brain? Not metaphorically, not emotionally, physically, shrinking parts of it that control memory, focus, and emotional balance. And the scariest part, most people never realize it's happening until the damage is already done. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how chronic stress rewires your brain, why it feels harder to think clearly, and what you can start doing today to protect your mind before it's too late. Let's start with something we all experience. Stress itself isn't bad. In fact, stress is what kept our ancestors alive. When your brain senses danger, it activates a survival system. Your heart rate increases, your senses sharpen, and your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This is called the fight-or-flight response. For short periods, it's incredibly useful. It helps you react fast, think sharp, and survive threats. The problem begins when that switch never turns off. Chronic stress is different from normal stress. It's not a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's worrying about money every night. It's constant deadlines. It's emotional pressure that never gives your nervous system a break. When stress becomes chronic, your brain stays in survival mode for weeks, months, or even years. And that's when things start to go wrong. Inside your brain, there's a small but powerful structure called the hippocampus. This area is responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. It helps you remember names, retain information, and distinguish between real threats and imagined ones. The hippocampus is also extremely sensitive to cortisol, the main stress hormone. Under normal conditions, cortisol rises and falls, but under chronic stress, cortisol stays elevated for too long. Here's where it gets alarming. High cortisol levels actually damage neurons in the hippocampus. Over time, they reduce the growth of new brain cells and even cause existing neurons to shrink. Brain scans of people under long-term stress show a measurable reduction in hippocampal volume. In simple words, this part of the brain literally gets smaller, and this explains so much: memory problems, forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, feeling mentally foggy. When the hippocampus shrinks, your ability to store and recall information weakens. You may find yourself rereading the same sentence multiple times. You may struggle to remember conversations or simple tasks. This isn't laziness. This is biology. But the hippocampus isn't the only area affected. Chronic stress also impacts the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain right behind your forehead. This area is responsible for decision making, impulse control, planning, and rational thinking. It's what helps you pause before reacting emotionally. It's what allows you to think logically under pressure. Prolonged stress weakens connections in the prefrontal cortex. Neurons here lose efficiency, and communication slows down. That's why when you're stressed, you make impulsive decisions, snap at people you care about, or feel unable to think clearly. Your brain's CO is being overridden by survival mode. At the same time, another brain structure becomes more powerful, the amygdala. This is your fear center. Chronic stress strengthens the amygdala, making it more reactive. That means your brain becomes better at detecting threats, even when they aren't real. Small problems feel massive. Neutral comments feel like attacks. Your mind starts expecting danger everywhere. So now you have a shrinking hippocampus, a weakened prefrontal cortex, and an overactive amygdala. This combination is brutal. It traps you in a loop where stress makes your brain worse at handling stress, which creates even more stress. This is why chronic stress is strongly linked to anxiety disorders and depression. It's not just emotional suffering. It's structural brain change. Studies show that people with long-term stress and depression often have reduced brain volume in key regions related to mood and cognition. The brain literally adapts to stress in a way that makes it harder to escape it. And here's something even more unsettling. Chronic stress doesn't just affect how you think, it affects how you age. Elevated cortisol accelerates brain aging. It increases inflammation, disrupts sleep, and interferes with the brain's ability to repair itself. Over time, this raises the risk of cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases later in life. Now, if you're feeling uncomfortable hearing this, that's understandable, but here's the hopeful part. The brain is plastic. It can change, and just as stress can damage it, the right actions can help rebuild it. The first step is understanding that rest is not a luxury. It's a biological requirement. When you sleep, your brain clears toxic waste, repairs neural connections, and regulates cortisol levels. Chronic sleep deprivation keeps stress hormones elevated and prevents recovery. Prioritizing sleep is one of the most powerful ways to protect your brain. Movement is another key factor. Regular physical activity lowers cortisol and increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that helps neurons grow and survive. Exercise literally promotes the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus. Even a daily walk can make a difference. Mindfulness and breathing practices also play a major role. Slow, controlled breathing sends a signal to your nervous system that you're safe. This activates the parasympathetic response, lowering cortisol and calming the amygdala. Over time, mindfulness practices have been shown to increase thickness in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. Nutrition matters too. Chronic stress depletes essential nutrients that the brain needs to function. Omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, and antioxidants help reduce inflammation and support neural health. What you eat directly influences how resilient your brain is under stress, but perhaps the most important factor is awareness. Many people normalize chronic stress. They wear it like a badge of honor. They think being constantly overwhelmed means they're productive or strong. In reality, chronic stress is silently eroding the very organ that allows you to succeed, think, and feel. You don't have to eliminate stress completely. That's impossible. But you can change your relationship with it. You can create moments of safety for your nervous system. You can teach your brain that it doesn't need to stay in survival mode all the time. If you've been feeling mentally exhausted, emotionally reactive, or forgetful, it's not because you're broken. It's because your brain has been under attack for too long. And the moment you start reducing chronic stress, your brain begins to heal. This is why mental health is not separate from physical health. Your brain is an organ, just like your heart or muscles. And just like any organ under constant strain, it needs care to recover. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember this. Stress isn't just a feeling. It's a force that reshapes your brain. And the choices you make today, how you rest, move, breathe, and think, will decide whether your brain continues to shrink under pressure or starts to rebuild itself stronger than before. If this video helped you understand your mind a little better, make sure to like it, share it with someone who's always stressed, and subscribe for more science-backed health content. Your brain will thank you for it.